Hello, everybody. Today we are going to be going over the fifth boss within the typical cube combination progression line, otherwise known as Cryo, the bane of all public servers. Typically, from what I've seen, this is the most requested boss guide of all bosses. I'm not sure how needed the new Poseidon boss is, but typically Cryo is the bottom line hardest boss within the game. Um Considering it as a third ring boss, I would recommend getting steel armor. Um Above anything else for this boss. However, um solely because I am going to be fighting it at a standpoint as if I had fought no other bosses in the game. I am not going to be using any boss weapons during this. Hence why I have 4 gold fire swords laid out in front of me. Um Typically I would recommend having 3 life cubes at standby even with steel armor. And a regen coil. A regen coil is a must during this boss fight. As Cryo does have some does have a attack at 50% HP that is basically guaranteed to deal good amounts of damage to you and will eventually kill you if you do not have a regen coil. There is no negotiation on that. Um you can do it without life cubes. However, again, I would not recommend uh risking the server. Assuming this is your first time killing Cryo, I would heavily recommend using using steel armor, having all of this gear. From a general standpoint, both of the weapons that you should be using are both Lava Greatsword and Obsidian Greatsword. Um, as the Lava Greatsword has a very good amount of durability, and its actual passive ability is guaranteed compared to the Goldfire swords. Both Lava Greatsword and Goldfire swords apply Fire 2, dealing 14 damage, but because it's Cryo and fire damage is more effective against her, 19 damage per fire tick. Um, and the Obsidian Greatsword is just general, well-rounded damage. 115 damage on basic swing. Uh, its passive of bleed barely does any damage, so I would recommend swapping between the two. The ideal loadout, if you're going melee during Cryo, is all 4 of these items, and if you pop a life cube, immediately to run and grab one from this pile again. Um, Again, I'm not sure if I said this before, but I would heavily recommend having a backup buddy waiting, preferably like center of Raider Root Island or closer to the spawn island. Because depending on how you do this boss fight, it can either be easier or harder. Uh, well, it can either be more space demanding or less. Cryo has four phases, each being within 25% of her HP. First phase, there is no special attack. Second phase, at 75% HP, she periodically spawns minions. Third phase is when there is an ice storm that uh occasionally she uses to fire projectiles at you. Standing still is never going to be survivable during said ice storm. Um, and then at 25% is what mostly kills people. Uh, there will be blue circles on the ground with hazard marks on them. They will gradually fade in, and at a certain point, ice spikes will appear from them. They appear in three waves and deal 500 ice damage each. They will one shot you even in full pyrolite. However, if you are in full steel or plated iron, I believe, you will not be one shot. Um, huh. You of all the bosses that you would want a 3x3 platform for, Cryo is by far one of them. Especially considering you can use this same platform for the Forsaken boss fight. Um, I would recommend if you are doing this solo. Wait, oh yeah, that. Generally, if you are doing this with Goldfire swords, if you do not have the double durability game pass, your swords will break like crazy. Even with the game pass, I typically go through. I break one of the swords and have the second one at low durability. I would recommend having two at standby. They are very easy to obtain from towers, which is all the more incentive to do them. However, it is solely up to you. If you are doing this in public servers, beware griefers potentially taking the life cubes. I would generally recommend putting them along this ledge because they are invisible um from walking over here. I if you are like fully pre-prepping for the boss, I would also recommend making an enriched glacier cube um to upgrade the ice greatsword that Cryo drops. However, apart from the 9-minute yap session that I just had, I will now start the boss fight. This is a very lengthy fight, and I forgot shift lock because I was taking screenshots. Okay. This is a very lengthy boss fight to do, and is fairly RNG dependent if you are doing this with Goldfire swords, as the ability of the Goldfire swords is not guaranteed to proc with the fire effect. I would recommend... But I could also recommend you using impact cubes or just regular explosive cubes, because they are also really great during the cryo fight, especially within the 4th phase, because they do not require you to engage in melee combat with cryo or any of the ice spikes for the matter. You can just drag her through that. If demand is high for it, I will make a guide using explosive cubes for the last 3 bosses of the game, Forsaken, Cryo, and Poseidon. However, if not, I will leave it at solely melee. First phase, fairly self-explanatory. Hit, back up, repeat. However, during the 2nd phase is when things start to get tricky, especially if you are using Goldfire swords. The issue with minions spawning isn't even the fact that they get in the way much. It's the fact that if they start to attack, they have the potential to trigger sword clashing, which will gnaw at your sword's durability much faster than it would otherwise. However, the addition of Cryo's minions being here do not typically affect the difference from first phase too much, other than your sword's durability. At 50% HP is when things start to get a bit more messy. Due to the whole ice storm thing. However, the main issue is solely durability on armor and such. Namely, weapons. Again, just try to avoid armor clashing. And also try to... well, not armor clashing, weapon clashing. And watch as the HP hits 50%. Generally, during the ice phase, if you are prioritizing your HP, you just want to jump as much as you can to avoid taking hits. Each projectile does 9 damage in Pyrolite, and if I'm correct, 6 in Steel Armor. So it shouldn't be that much of an issue, assuming you are fully prepared for cryo. However, if not, pose a potential threat to your health, as seen there. Assuming you don't have any of the game passes, including the double durability game pass, this is about the time when your second gold fire sword would rip. From what I'm seeing, you might be able to get away with 3 over in that pile over there. However, if you are doing cryo in a public server, I would heavily recommend giving a lava greatsword. There is some debate between whether lava greatsword and gold fire greatsword are better. The main difference between them is that the gold fire sword, at an expense of durability, at an expense of durability, the gold fire greatsword does give more base damage, although its passive, its fire effect lasts for notably shorter duration. Again, though, with the Obsidian Greatsword, you shouldn't be losing too much. Yeah, 3 waves. Disregarding that, 3 waves of hazard spikes. There are 2 strategies to avoid them. First, either you just completely do a mad dash out of the spikes, which, assuming you are doing this carefully, is not hard to get out of. Or, my personal favorite strategy, I call it jump stalling. Without being on the ground, Cryo will always be targeting the crystal. So, assuming if you just jump periodically, Cryo will not try to attack you melee, but will be staggered. So you don't have to have the 3x3 bridge. As you can see, Cryo, he's kind of going back and forth there. The issue with jump stalling, however, is that, considering you are jumping straight up and down, you are fairly prone to taking damage from the ice storm. However, assuming you have a regen coil, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. what I would be aware of if you are trying to use Cryo in public servers is griefers trying to lure Cryo away from... That was a lag spike. From the arena and trying to get Cryo closer towards the crystal. Um, Assuming the griefers are stupid, they will likely die to the Cryo's ice storm, but if not, they may pose a threat. Assuming you are the server owner, I would try your best to kick them from the server before they can do any real damage, like any other griefer. However, sometimes griefers are not avoidable, especially if they find and eat at your like, food supply, because it's not that easy to hide them. Assuming the griefer knows what they're doing. However, with that out of mind, that is Cryo dead. I would recommend trying to grab Cryo's arm as soon as possible, dropping both Obsidian Greatsword and your regen coil. For Cryo's arm and the Ice Greatsword. To avoid griefers getting their hands on them. But other than that, that is Cryo fully killed. I apologize for low video quality and or poor explanation. However, I am mainly making these just to get these out on the platform. If you enjoyed this guide, please consider liking the video and subscribing to this channel for more content similar to this. And other than that, assuming you've followed similar progression line, you now have all bosses except for the two final ones completed. Thank you for watching, and I will hopefully see you in the Forsaken guide. Bye.